Hey everybody, I'm Grandmaster Ben Finegold here with our weekly lecture series. This lecture is part 2 of another lecture which was sponsored by somebody else. So I've never had this happen, that we had part 1 and part 2 with 2 different sponsors. This is called Improve Your Chess Part 2, and I wanted to make this lecture slightly more complicated than the first one. I want to thank our sponsor, Ron Stern, who is also known as the superfan author of Cry Like a Grandmaster. That's a little booklet that he made that I want to thank him for. We sold many copies in our online store, which now is under hiatus, but we'll sell it again. Hopefully you're one of the few people who own it. We sold a lot of copies of that. It's very funny, and as the title indicates. Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk about the ideas the sponsor had regarding the lecture to start, then show a few examples of what I'm talking about. Then when we're done with going over the suggestions, I'm going to show 3 games which I think are excellent in helping you improve your chess. And we'll talk about the key ideas of improving your chess in each game. The games have nothing to do with each other, so if you're going to learn something, you'll learn something different in each game. I've been sick the last couple of days, so if I cough a lot, I apologize. But I have some iced tea, so I should be okay. Okay, so the first suggestion was asking how to improve calculation. And the way you should improve your calculation, this is sort of a well-known secret, is when you calculate, there's 2 things you have to do that you normally don't do. One of them is to be objective and not want the variation that you're calculating to be in your favor. And when all of your calculation that you do gives you hope that you're winning and you're trying to find that winning line, sometimes people aren't objective and they miss stuff for their opponent. And that brings me to number 2, which is when you analyze a variation, you have to analyze an equal number of moves for you and your opponent. Basically, you should always end on the opponent's move. So what a lot of people do is they think to themselves, I play this move, my opponent plays that move, and then I win. I play this winning move. And they stop their calculation. And you shouldn't do that when you think you have a winning move during your calculation, no matter how deep it is. And the deeper you go, the more likely you are to be wrong. So the famous saying goes, long analysis, wrong analysis. You have to find the opponent's best moves, and that's what separates a lot of club players' thinking from grandmasters' thinking, is grandmasters don't always think they're winning, and often grandmasters underestimate their position because they spend so much time looking for their opponent's resources, and lower-rated players don't do that very often. They're not interested in their opponent's winning moves. They're interested in their own winning moves. And this makes you less objective and you don't calculate as well. And as a consequence, you miss stuff. And the thing that gets me is people miss stuff for their opponent that they would not miss from them for themselves. Okay, so here's an example of a game that I saw at a Masters tournament in Chicago a long time ago, probably over 30 years ago. Okay. Both players are masters because it's a Masters, everybody's a master. Okay. White played here, and in this position, black made the losing move, which isn't easy. And typically, when you rated 2200, 2300, you're not losing immediately on move 5. And in fact, after white's response, black resigned. And in this position, this game was next to me. That's how I know about it. My game was just starting. Black played here. Now, here's what I mean about seeing things for your opponent and not seeing them for your opponent, but seeing them for yourself. If this was a puzzle in a puzzle book and it said white to play and win, the player who had black in this game would solve it in like 3 seconds. So it's not that the tactic is too complicated, it's that he wasn't thinking about what his opponent was doing. And in this position, white can play queen a4 check, attacking the king and attacking the bishop. So most people who are over, let's say 1700, would certainly play queen a4 check with white. And some of those same people would allow it with black. So if your opponent has a check or a capture, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that. Well, then you're not trying hard to find the best moves for your opponents. And that's how you get good at tactics and you stop blundering more. And to me, your mileage may vary. To me, it's more important that you don't blunder than you necessarily punish blunders. So if you play a whole game and never make a blunder, then your rating's pretty high. And if you want to be even higher, then you have to punish all the blunders your opponent makes. But you have to start out with not blundering. So now white wins a bishop. I've taught a lot of chess in my life because I'm pretty old. And some people, typically beginners and low-rated players, don't understand the importance of not losing material because they do it so often, they think it's okay. Like in this position, I lost a bishop, and if a grandmaster was black, they would go to their hotel room and destroy it Hans Niemann style, and nobody would blame them. But I've had students who will blunder a bishop or a knight or a queen, and they continue analyzing the game like that's just something that happened in the game and doesn't matter very much. And it could be, if both players are under 1,000, that losing a piece like that may not affect the result of the game very much. It could be white's going to blunder their queen soon. I don't know. But at the master level, if you want to become a master, you can't just, I lost a pawn, oh well. You can't do that. And all the stuff that you're taught by coaches or videos or stuff you've learned practically by playing chess, most of it doesn't matter as much as material loss. And a lot of grandmasters don't understand that their students don't understand that. For a grandmaster, losing the bishop is the worst thing ever. And if Magnus Carlsen was playing Nakamura with either color, it doesn't matter who's white, who's black, black would resign now. And black would be very upset. And, you know, Kramnik would stop analyzing the game and wouldn't accuse anybody because it's such a big blunder. Okay, so you can't do that. When you calculate, you have to look at moves for your opponent. They're just as important for a grandmaster. They're more important than what you're doing. And for a low-rated player, it's hard to change the way you think. And the only way to get better at chess is to change the way you think. If everything you think, you always think, then your rating is always going to be the same. Whatever it is you think, that's how you play. And the way to get better at chess is to take the things that you're doing that aren't right and change them. And then you'll play better. Maybe not right away, but you'll have a better understanding of chess. So here's something I tell my students, which will confuse you, but that's why my students are always confused. You can't make mistakes that you know are mistakes. You could only make mistakes that you don't know are mistakes. Okay, so for example, if you're like, I'm going to go outside and run somebody over intentionally, you can't do that. Okay, that's wrong. You know that's wrong. You know that's ridiculous. And you know if everybody did that, the world would be crazy. Everybody run everybody over. That nobody would go outside anymore. I mean, it'd be crazy. You can't do that. So you know you can't do that. Then it could be you have some important check and you thought it was garbage and you threw it out. Then you're like, where's my check? Okay, that was a mistake. You didn't know it was your check. You thought it was garbage. You made a mistake. Okay? And so if you make a mistake and you don't know it's a mistake, then you learn something. Maybe next time you won't throw things out without looking at it more carefully. But if you make a mistake that you know is a mistake, how are you supposed to be good at chess? Because imagine somebody who knew everything. They knew more than Magnus Carlsen. Okay? They can quote you all the famous games. They can show you variations. And the reason their rating isn't high is because they do stuff they know is wrong. And you might be like, what do you mean? Well, Black knows this is wrong. It's not too hard for him. He's rated like 2250. That's not something that's too complicated. That's something that he knows. And if he had white, he would play queen a4 check, winning the bishop. When he has black, he allows it. And this is why a lot of low-rated players don't get their rating up, is because stuff that they already know, they still do wrong. And you can't do that. You have to do stuff wrong that you don't know is wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. If you blunder your queen, you probably didn't see your queen was hanging. You didn't see the trick. But it could be you do see the trick, and if you were the other person, you would have won the queen in 1 second. You can't do that. You can't make blunders that you already know are blunders. That's the same as Magnus blundering his queen. Magnus knows he shouldn't blunder his queen, so if he does, that's shocking. And anytime a grandmaster blunders, those games become famous because it's so rare. When a low-rated player blunders, my students like, yeah, I do that every game. Sorry. And I'm like, if you blunder every game, it doesn't really matter what I teach you. You have to stop blundering. Because that's more important than being good at chess overall, unlike every other sport. Okay? And the only exception is golf. In golf, it's sort of like chess. You can play great golf. You're the best. You're the best golfer in the world. However, one hole every round, you're the worst. You blunder a lot. Okay, then you're no good. Like, you shoot 67 every day, and you have the best average on tour, except on hole 15, you shot a 9 on a par 3. Well, then you're not best in the world anymore. So if you blunder in golf and hit it in the water, then hit it in the sand trap, then hit it over the green, and you get 6 or 7 over on one hole, and the other 17 holes you play great, you're still not going to win the tournament. In other sports like baseball football, basketball, you can blunder all you want and still win, as long as you're better than the opponent. If you're up 6-0, 5-0 in tennis, it doesn't matter what you do the next 3 points. You can hit him into the sky, you can hit him into the audience, because you're going to win the match. If you're up 49-0 in football, and you here opponent, take the ball and get a touchdown, that's a terrible blunder, but you're still going to win, and et cetera, et cetera. In chess, you can't play like a 2300 player and then twice a game make one move blunders that lose a piece or a rook or a queen. Then your rating will be 1,000, because blunders are more important. So to improve your calculation, you have to spend a lot more time thinking about what your opponent's doing and less time thinking about what you're doing. And the reason I say that is I've had a lot of students and chess camps, and I've taught a lot of people, and typically that's their mistake, is they concentrate on what they're doing and they don't think about what their opponent's doing. You have to be more objective. And grandmasters don't do that. That's why they're grandmasters. They became grandmasters because they're objective and they don't always think they're winning. They objectively look at what's going on and try to make, an evaluation. Okay, number 2, puzzle solving as a means to improve play. Okay, now my opinion may be different than your chess coach or you, but this is my opinion. My opinion, you want to solve relatively easy puzzles and do a lot of them, as opposed to spending half an hour on one puzzle and then seeing if you got it right. That doesn't reflect the practical play of a chess tournament. In a chess tournament, you think 5 seconds to 5 minutes on 95% of your moves, then you make one. It's very rare in a chess tournament you think for half an hour. So if you're doing a puzzle and it takes you half an hour to solve it, that means if you're playing in a chess tournament, you're not going to figure it out. So you want to do things that are relatively easy, and you want to make them easier. Okay? And one example, this is 2 international masters playing. And in this position, Black made the losing move. Okay, Black, which is hard to do. Black played bishop h5. So this is the kind of puzzle that I would want my student to do, and I would expect my student would solve it, but some won't. And then I think practically in a chess tournament, this is the kind of thing that you'll see. This is the kind of position where you have a winning move. You should see it in a few seconds or maybe a minute. And then if I show these puzzles to a grandmaster, they solve them in 1 second. If I show them to a 2000 player, they solve them in 4 or 5 seconds. If I show them to a 500 player, they don't solve them unless I give them a hint. And you want to get better at these simple things. Okay, so this is queen check. It's the same as the last one. And you win the bishop. And this actually happened in a game. I saw it in a book. I wasn't at the game. And Black lost a bishop. And these are the kind of puzzles, this kind of puzzle where the answer is 1 or 2 moves long, that I think you should be doing every day. So that these kind of simple tactics that occur in your games and tournament games, that you're used to finding the winning moves and making it where no matter how easy it is, you want it to be easier. Because in a tournament game, nobody's telling you, hey, you're winning right now, you have a winning move. So it's easier when you're doing the puzzle. And I could show you puzzles, and I'll tell you a story. I was in Vegas, and I was sitting there because there was a blitz tournament I wasn't playing in, And it was between rounds. And I was just hanging out with my director friends, chilling, waiting to get dinner later, which was an excellent dinner. We had Ethiopian. I'm a vegan, so that's Ethiopian's good. Anyway, I'm sitting there, and Gawking Rabble comes up, a guy that I know. He sets up this position, and he says, white to move in mate in 5. And then he tells me the puzzle has a 4,000 rating. Like, nobody can solve it. And he said Mikhail Tal solved it. He's like the only famous person who solved it. Okay, so I looked at it for, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes. I wasn't timing it. And I solved it. And that's not the kind of position you want to do every day unless you're a strong grandmaster. Okay, maybe that's a good puzzle for Carlson. Maybe Carlson would solve it in 3 minutes. Maybe Carlson wouldn't solve it, I don't know. But that's not good for a club player to do puzzles that take an hour to solve and you're still wrong. That doesn't simulate tournament play. Now, you can do that for fun, and a lot of people ask me questions like, if I play blitz chess, is that good for my chess? And there's 2 possible answers. The normal answer is no. That's the normal answer. But there's another answer which will allow you to play blitz chess more, which is to be good at chess, you have to love chess. You want to do chess puzzles every day. You want to play chess. You want to go to chess tournaments. You want to watch super grandmaster tournaments with super grandmaster analysis. Then you have a friend, he doesn't want to do any of that. Maybe like once a month, he's like, I think I'll play some chess now. He's not interested in the other stuff. Okay? So if you want to love chess and play chess all the time and get your chess craving, then you should play blitz chess because it's fun and it's quick. It doesn't make you better at slow chess, but it's like fun to play chess. You don't have to do chess stuff because it makes you a better player. You can do chess stuff because you enjoy it. And if you enjoy playing 1-minute chess, which I do, I used to, it's not going to make me better at a tournament, but you get to have fun playing chess quickly. And you get to blunder a lot and still win. So, not everything that you do in chess makes you a better chess player. Some of you do it because you enjoy it. You might enjoy studying the Najdorf Sicilian, but you hate looking at rook and pawn endgames. And you have an Eastern European coach, and they're like, you have to look at rook and pawn endings, rawr. Okay, then you hate chess and you quit chess because you hate looking at those. I mean, you should do stuff you enjoy. If you like looking at the Najdorf Sicilian, then do that. Then you're enjoying yourself and you love chess more. And so not everything makes you the best you can be, but some of it makes you like the game more and want to play the game more and enjoy the game more, and that might make you a better player. So I would do puzzles that are relatively easy with relatively short answers that you can solve in 5 minutes or less, because that mimics what you're doing in a chess tournament. If you're looking at the hardest puzzle ever and you solve it in 45 minutes and you're really proud of yourself, that doesn't mimic tournament conditions. So, if you had that in a tournament with nobody telling you you're winning and you're taking 3 minutes a move, you're not going to solve that. So it's fun to do and it's good for top players, but for club players, you got to do like the simple stuff. Okay, now like this is very simple. This is white to play in mate in 1. I would say this is too simple, but if you're a beginner and you're rated under 500 and you haven't played chess very long, you should do puzzles like this. Then the answer is queen takes, you solve the puzzle, and now you feel good about yourself. And now you know a checkmating pattern. Okay, and another puzzle would be g6, what should white play? Again, this is for low-rated players. Queen takes pawn check, wins the rook. And there are people who fall into this with black. And if you're very low rated, you want to do super easy puzzles. if you're like an average club player, you want to do relatively easy puzzles. And if you're Magnus Carlsen, you might want to try to solve puzzles that would take a master like 2 hours to solve and see if you can solve it in 10 minutes. Okay, so I think the better you are at chess, the more complicated the puzzles, and the lower rated you are, do simple puzzles, so those things are simpler for you. If you're rated 1100, you want to solve a mate in 2 where every move is check the same speed as Magnus Carlsen. You won't do it, but you want to get better at it. You want to be able to do the mate in 2 in a tournament game, and so you can't solve it in 30 minutes because you're not taking 30 minutes on a move in a tournament game. Nobody's telling you it's mate. Okay, the next question, the time, effort, and money needed to participate frequently in USCF rated tournaments. Okay, and again, that depends what your goal is. There's a lot of effort in getting better at chess. And there's no set amount of effort, but a good guideline is you work harder than your opponent. So if your opponent studies chess 4 hours a week and you study chess 8 hours a week, you're outworking them. And usually, the more time and effort you put into prep, you'll get better at chess. And some people have jobs and families, and they don't spend a lot of time on chess. They play blitz chess on chess.com or something. Money is unclear. If you want to play in the big tournaments, which isn't necessary, then you have to have money. Tournaments that have hundreds of players with tens of thousands in prizes, those are very expensive because entry fees are high, the hotels are high, travel is high, and your food is high. But if you go a mile or two down the block and play at a local club in a daily tournament that takes 3 rounds or 4 rounds and lasts for 7 or 8 hours, that shouldn't cost as much money at all, not even near as much. So big tournaments are expensive and little tournaments usually aren't. And for people who are new to the US Chess Federation and they've never played in a tournament, which is some of you, your first tournament's usually your most expensive because you have to join the US Chess Federation and you might have to join the local affiliate, but you don't have to do that the next tournaments. There's no reason to pay tons and tons of money to play chess. That you can play chess and not pay a lot of money and just play in local events where you don't have these huge costs, which I would recommend to anybody. And then maybe like once a year, you want to splurge and go to the National Open in Vegas, which has 1,000 players and has lectures and simuls and camps. And you want to be around, 1,000 chess players, not like the same 6 people you see every week. So getting better at chess, typically you don't want to play in the same club every week because it's the same people. You want to play different people. And again, it doesn't hurt to have a lot of money. If you have a lot of money and your family does, and you're a kid, and your family can afford taking you to big tournaments and getting you expensive chess coaches and so forth, then you can get good really quickly. That's why there's so many good kids right now. And if you're broke, then it's much more difficult to get high-level coaches. And you can still do it. There's a lot of free stuff on the internet, like this lecture I'm doing right now. If you're watching on YouTube, it's free. If you're the sponsor, and then you got to pay up. Okay, the sponsor says, since I'm approaching 60, my ears are burning, perhaps there's a few insights for older players. Yeah, older players, I prefer not playing 10-year-olds because they're too good. So I like tournaments where there's people my age playing senior tournaments. And you don't want to have too high of an expectation. Like, I played chess 30 years ago and I was 1900. I haven't played chess in 30 years and I'm 60. now I'm going to be 1900 again. Okay, you're not. You haven't played chess in 30 years, and kids are good now, so you just have to try to keep up and not expect too much and just enjoy the game. When you're in your 50s and 60s, it's hard to improve your chess. However, I have one student in his 50s, and he was 1150 3 years ago when we started working, and now he's 1650. That's an aberration. You don't see that very often. And in the last 2.5 months, he's gained 300 rating points. He somehow put it all together. But he studies a lot. He does Chessable a lot, does chess.com a lot. We have lessons. He analyzes all of his games from the tournament. He's very serious about his chess. And he puts a lot of time in, which is unusual. Most people his age have families and jobs, which he does. He has a job and a family, but he finds time to study chess. So I wouldn't worry about my results too much. I would just try to enjoy chess again at a later age. The more you enjoy chess, which he does, the better you'll do. If you find it a chore or it seems difficult to go to a tournament because of all your other priorities, that makes it difficult for you. So you gotta have time for chess, enjoy the game, and just do all the study that you can in preparation for tournaments. And as is shown by my student, you can get better. Some people don't get better because they don't have the time or the effort to put in or the energy to improve their chess. And I'm an example of somebody who got older and got much worse at chess. So I can still make lectures and they're still pretty good because I have 50 years of experience in chess. So I've seen everything. I've seen 100 players, I've seen the world champions, and I've seen everybody in the middle. And I know what people usually do wrong, so I can guide you away from that. But don't have huge expectations and be thwarted if you're an older player and you're just getting back into the game, you haven't played a lot. You got to ease in, do the best you can, learn from your games, and try to get incrementally better, not, I want to gain hundreds of rating points right away. Okay, so we took a lot more time with that than I was expecting. And we have some games to look at that I think show some slightly more advanced concepts that improve your chess one. First game I want to look at is Steinitz von Bardeleben, very famous game played in Hastings 1895. And the thing that I'm interested in is like two positions. So we'll get to those positions. In this position, if grandmasters were playing now, white would play d3, and it would be a long, boring positional game. But this was in 1895, so people were sacrificing. And in this position, grandmasters play knight takes e4, and there's lots of analysis which proves, if you know all the analysis, that black is at least equal. But von Bardeleben played d5, which is not considered as good. Now white's not down a pawn, and in this position, white's going to try to do something on the e-file with check. So typically, black wants to castle, but the knight isn't defended. And taking this pawn is very dangerous because your king is on e8 and it's going to get attacked. So black played bishop e6, defending the knight, stopping rook e1 check. Now black can castle, and black would be okay. Basically, the idea of the game is, with white, I don't want black to castle. If black castles, black's position is fine. So I don't want black to castle. Every move, white tries to stop black from castling. White played bishop g5, attacking the queen. Black retreated, and now there's a lot of trades because all the pieces are attacking each other. So every move was a trade. And again, if black can castle, black's doing great. So white played rook e1 and said, you can't castle because I'll take your knight. Black played f6 because white wants to play rook e5, attacking the queen, and then triple up on the e file. Put everything on the e file. So black played f6, white played queen e2, threatening mate. Black played queen to d7. And now both players made a mistake. In this position, white played rook a c1, which is inaccurate. Now black can equalize by playing king f7. And then if queen c4 check, knight goes to d5, black puts his rooks in the center, will eventually tuck his king away. Black's fine. Okay, and black made the losing move here, c6. And this is the first position I wanted to talk about as far as improving your chess. In this position, white played a move that I think only very strong players would consider. White played a very famous clearance sacrifice. Again, white wants to stop black from completing development, and white's pieces are all developed and ready to go, but there's nowhere to go that's better. So white has to find some squares that are better. So white played a clearance sacrifice, it was excellent, d5. That clears the d4 square for the white knight. The white knight's coming. Okay, you can't take with the knight because it's illegal. You can't take with the queen because you get checkmated and won. So von Bardeleben took with the pawn and then knight d4. Now in this position, if it was white's turn to move, knight f5 wins. Game's over. If you play queen takes knight, then queen takes knight mate. Otherwise, you're going to lose your knight. So von Bardeleben played king f7, stopping knight f5, knight e6. Steinitz wants to play rook c7. Von Bardeleben plays rook hc8, so his king can castle by hand, and he defends the c7 square. Queen g4, threatening queen g7 check. And now knight g5 check, attacks the queen on d7. That's a discovered attack. So this is a good position to show one of my students and ask, what should black play? This is a puzzle in itself. Black only has one move to continue the game because you can't allow queen takes queen and you're in check. Black played king e8 and now started one of the greatest combinations ever. Super complicated. White played rook takes e7 check, sacrificing the exchange. Again, punishing black's king. If queen takes e7, then white just takes this and white's up a piece. So white's winning. If king to d8, queen takes queen is mate. Pretty bad move. If king takes e7, rook e1 check, and again, you have to defend your queen, so you have to play king d8 or king d6. King d6 and king d8 both lose. This loses because of check, check, and then queen f4 check. And white has a winning pin against the c7 rook. Then if you take, then checkmate. And king d8 loses to knight e6 check. The king goes to the e file. Then knight c5 check wins the queen. So black played a move that very few people would think of. Black played king f8. And you might be like, whoa, white just took a piece. Black's queen is hanging. What's going on here? Well, black is threatening rook takes c1, which leads to mate. So white doesn't have time to take the queen. And white's pieces are all hanging. Rook's hanging, knight's hanging, queen's hanging, rook's hanging. Okay, so king f8 is actually a good try. Rook f7 check. If king e8, this is mate. And if queen takes rook check, wins again. White's up a piece. So black played king g8, rook g7 check. If king takes, queen is check. So he played king h8, check, king, and then in this position he resigned. There's a very, very long mating sequence because the h pawn is gone. We have queen h4 check, and we keep checking. And this is a funny mate. And that's like 95% forced. So in that game, white made a clearance sacrifice with d5, which I think was the most important move of the game. So his knight could go to d4. Then he sacrificed the exchange on e7 to open up black's king more. And then this brilliant sequence happened. And here black resigned. So that's considered one of the most brilliant games ever. But the idea of a clearance sacrifice, so you clear a square for one of your pieces, is a great idea that I've used many times. Get something out of the way and then put my piece there. And sometimes you clear a square without sacrificing. That's not a clearance sacrifice, that's just nothing. But you want to put a piece on a square, but one of your pieces is already there, so you move that piece out of the way, then your piece can go there. When it's a sacrifice, it's cooler. Okay, we got time for one more game. This is one of my favorite Morphy games that nobody looks at because typically people like Morphy games where he's white and he's playing the King's Gambit and he spots a rook and he sacks everything. Okay, this game Morphy's black and he played the French defense. Okay, and they played the advanced variation. And here, white played a very bad move, which I think is important for improving your chess. This position, black has one piece out, the knight, and white has 0. 0 is not the right amount of pieces to have out. So white should be developing his pieces and castling. Every grandmaster in the world plays knight f3. That's every game ever played by everybody. Here, white played f4, which is a mistake because white doesn't have any development. Now black can start attacking quicker. White's not ready to defend. Black attacked the d4 pawn, which is very common in this opening. White played knight f3. Bishop d7, gets his bishop out. He wants to get his rook out. a3, again, not developing a piece. Another bad move. Too many pawn moves. Knight h6, the knight wants to go to f5, putting pressure on this pawn. Very reasonable. b4, and rook c8. Black has moved 5 of their pieces, and white's moved 1. So in those instances, when you get that kind of development advantage, you have to press. You have to play aggressively and punish your opponent. Bishop b2, defending the d pawn again. Knight f5. Queen d3. Probably white was afraid of knight e3 attacking the queen. Okay, now that black has such a big advantage in development, it's time to attack. And Morphy was good at sacrificing and attacking. With the queen on d3, the knight on b4 would attack the queen. So Morphy sacrificed his bishop, check, and then takes with the knight, attacking the queen, and also threatening knight c2 check, because the rook's defending. So black is attacking with all of his pieces. White makes a mistake and plays queen d2. And now instead of knight c2, black has a better move, rook c2. When you see a good move, look for a better one. White's queen is almost trapped. It's got one square. Queen d1. And again, a lot of people would take the bishop, which is winning, but when you see a good move, look for a better one. And Morphy played another attacking move, knight to e3, attacking the queen. The queen has nowhere to go. So that was an amazing game by Morphy. Now White resigned. The game didn't take very long, and White just made too many pawn moves. Black's pieces have been developed the whole game, and White's pieces are basically on the first rank. And it's games like these which helped grandmasters later in life play better. Develop your pieces, get your king safe, get your pieces active, and if your opponent doesn't do that, punish them, sometimes with a sacrifice. Morphy's sacrifices were usually sound because he had a big lead in development and his opponent's king wasn't safe. This position, White's queen isn't safe. Morphy wins, and to improve your chess, you want to get all of your pieces out and use all of your pieces for attacking. That's the main thing Morphy taught us. Don't just attack with one piece. Don't just put your opponent in check because you can. Make threats with all of your pieces. Okay, again, I want to thank Ron Stern, our sponsor. Thanks for writing Cry Like a Grandmaster. Hopefully that'll be on sale again soon. It's a very funny book. I hope this helped you improve your chess. I know it helped me improve mine. And I'll see you guys next time. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. It helps out the channel. And if you want to sponsor a lecture, you can go into the information, the description of the video, contact my wife Karen, and you too can sponsor a lecture on the topic of your choice. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.